Well, hello, and welcome to NewTek, and this special program on TriCaster Advanced Edition. It's a new software package that lets TriCaster users add some very powerful new capabilities without changing or adding more equipment. Now, we're going to be seeing a demonstration of some of these capabilities very shortly, but first, I'd like to welcome President and Chief Technology Officer, Dr. Andrew Cross.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Andrew, before we get started on Advanced Edition, this is actually the 10th anniversary for NewTek TriCaster, isn't it?
It is, and it's actually kind of amazing to think back. It was actually at NAB exactly 10 years ago that we shipped the first TriCaster. And, it's just amazing to look back and think over that time, just how far we've come, how, in many ways this has actually changed the field of live production and, enabled a whole new generation of broadcasters to go out there and actually have a vision, get it out to the world. And that is probably one of the most gratifying things that you can do is help, create that in an industry like we have.
How has TriCaster evolved over these past 10 years?
Well, that's a great question because, it's funny when you think about TriCaster when we first came out, we use this paradigm a lot of you take everything that's in a production truck and kind of squeeze it down somehow into a box. And we actually used that a lot. I mean, I think in a lot of our early videos, we actually showed that. We had this cool video that showed a truck and it would kind of flip up in the air, kind of get compacted and then come down as a box. And it's funny to think back because back then we were really very much thinking about how do you take this piece of physical gear and turn it into an analog within TriCaster. But what's happened over these years is that the TriCaster has become much more than that, and it's not just become about how you take pieces of gear and put them into the system, because what putting it in one system allows is it allows them to all kind of talk to each other, it allows them to kind of interact with each other. And so what you end up with, and when you look at TriCaster today, and particularly with Advanced Edition, which is what got me thinking about this, is it's the connections between the pieces. It's allowing one thing to talk to another, which talks to another, that really enables you to go into to make a show that is so much more than you could have ever originally done with that original production truck. It's actually kind of funny to think that, we started off in this place kind of back then 10 years ago, and it's evolved, and somewhere along the way it kind of crossed this uncanny valley where it was no longer just a linear, step of what the things before it had done, but it became something new that really allows people to make shows in a way that they just really could not have before.
Mm-hmm. How do you think that this technology has really changed the way people not only produce but use video?
Well, I think, so that's interesting because, when you think about it, in many ways, the traditional broadcast market, it grows at about 2% a year. But if you look at the amount of video that's being consumed online, it's grown at 30–40% a year, which is obviously huge. So, really what this is saying is that the need for video has grown very, very fast. In fact, much faster than broadcasters have been able to be producing it. And so products like TriCaster and the kind of things we're doing to enable people to become broadcasters who quite honestly were never broadcasters before is what is fueling this. So you're just seeing that this is a whole new world where people can go out there and they can have their own message, they can get out there. If you're a team, you can talk to your fans. If you are if you're a high school, you can talk to the parents, and it just gives you this very powerful tool to go out there and get your message across and to communicate with people. And I think the TriCaster has been one of the big catalysts in doing this because it allows those people not just to produce a show, but to make a show that really looks great, allows a small number of people without a lot of expertise to actually run it and produce something that really could go on the air as broadcast television often.
And get that really professional look.
Absolutely, and that's the key. We always talk about the smell test. As video has become more and more common, really anybody, I mean, even my kids know what good video is versus, not good video is. And so, it's really important that we have tools that make it so that it just looks like professionally produced video, but it doesn't require somebody who is a professional video producer to necessarily do that. And I think that that's been one of the key successes of TriCaster, is it has really created this new generation of broadcasters and producers who can make video that quite honestly looks great and go out there and it makes for very compelling viewing.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about TriCaster Advanced Edition. Now, it really represents a broad range of new capabilities for the TriCaster. Now, in general, what do you think this new software package represents?
Well, that's a good question. So obviously there's a whole bunch of new features, if you will, or capabilities in there. But when you take a step back and look at, okay, so what does this package kind of achieve? What does Advanced Edition allow you fundamentally to do that you couldn't do before? And I think that the key there is it takes all of the pieces of TriCaster, and we have a lot in there, and it starts to really tie them together so that, for instance, when you go to we've had macros for a long time, for instance. Now when you go to a camera, it can trigger a macro. When you have a clip show up in a DDR, it can trigger a macro. And all of these things allow somebody who is producing a show to sit down and build a kind of almost customized environment around their show, which allows them to produce a far more polished show, make it much more automated, so that they can really be doing very sophisticated productions that are really tailored to their needs in ways that were just really never possible before. It's no longer a matter of just sitting there and punching the show. You can now actually build, a whole workflow around the system that allows it to do so much more and allows it to, one part of the product to trigger another, which allows, and this is, that sounds cool at a technological level, but what this really does is it allows people to just, build something that really is specific to their need. And that, obviously there's lots of great pieces that allow you to do that, but I think that it really just enables something that really is kind of almost a new way of working for people at this level.
So how do you think this is going to further change the landscape of how video is made?
Well, one of the key things is, if you went into a traditional, large TV station, you're going to see, a live production switcher, and you're actually going to have all the pieces that we just talked about earlier that typically are separate, but you're going to have those separate. And you're probably going to see some kind of automation system that helps tie it all together. And you're going to see a whole load of people setting this up. It requires engineers, it requires workflow designers, it requires all sorts of people. Now, we've taken really everything there and put it into TriCaster and allow one guy to make a show, to really build a workflow that is specifically tailored to his show so that he can make a great looking show, he can get it on the air, he can get it on the web, he can go out and produce something that really is remarkably sophisticated, that is very tailored to what he needs, and that is something that's quite remarkable and really quite new.
Okay, well let's take a look at some of these new capabilities. Let's go to Don Balance now for a demonstration of TriCaster Advanced Edition.
Hello and welcome to this overview of the NewTek TriCaster Advanced Edition. TriCaster Advanced Edition is an upgrade package that enhances your workflow with a set of features that not only increases your capabilities, but also improves your production quality. It can be added to any TriCaster professional line model, from TriCaster Mini to TriCaster 8000. Let's start by looking at some of the new layering effects. The mix effects buses inside of the TriCaster already allow you to do a lot of compositing, but the Advanced Edition adds even more capabilities. Let's go ahead and take a look at an example. Using one of the keyers inside of an ME, we're going to go ahead and add a bug. Now, if we zoom in and out on this ME, it's locked to the frame exactly like we would expect it to be. But the Advanced Edition gives us more capabilities, including augmented reality. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom all the way out and turn on augmented reality, and then position this logo onto the front of the desk. Now with augmented reality turned on, this logo becomes locked to the virtual set instead of being locked to the frame. And now you can see, as we're zooming in and out, that we're locked right to the desk. I can even go in here and we can zoom in and pan around, and you can see that overlay now has become part of the virtual set. So now adding a logo or some branding to any part of a virtual set and locking it down is possible using the Advanced Edition. Now we can take this even further. Let's add another person to the set. We'll bring in Kiki through keyer number 4 here, and I'll show you that we have augmented reality engaged and a little bit of parallax. And parallax allows us to put her out in 3D space in front of everything else. Let me show you what I mean. We'll go ahead and zoom in on her, and as we zoom in on her, she's moving at a slightly different rate as the rest of the background. You can see as I start to pan her around that she's moving at a different rate than the background, and it really looks like she's in the foreground in 3D space. So by using this sort of a setup, we can now zoom past her to the talent behind the desk. Again, we can come back out to both of them or come all the way back out to our wide shot, and we've literally added another person to our virtual environment using the augmented reality that comes with the Advanced Edition. Another addition to the keyers are soft edges, full color borders, and drop shadows. Let's take a look. So I'm going to bring up DSK1 and let's go into the positioner, and we now have edges, and we can very easily add nice soft edges on any of these overlays. We can also add borders, and borders can be something like what you see here, this film strip border, this frame, nice graphic border, or it could be something as simple as just a drop shadow and a standard border. And we come with a wide variety of borders to choose from, but you can also make your own in Photoshop. And once they get applied, they become part of that overlay. Any adjustments or changes you make to the overlay also are made to the borders, and of course they also work with the transitions on and off the screen. There are also new enhancements that let you perform editing functions in the media players. Now, we've always had autoplay, and autoplay is great. It automatically queues up and pre-rolls all of your clips for you. Simply put your clips into a media player, transition to it, and they play back. Now, these are playing back with cuts in between each one of the clips, which is how the standard edition of the TriCaster works. Now, if you wanted to do, say, dissolves or even DVEs in between these clips, in the standard edition of the TriCaster, you would have to separate these clips into different media players and then use the production switcher to switch between those clips. But the advanced edition allows you to add those transitions right inside of the media player itself. Now we'll transition to that media player, and we'll see those clips playing back with fades in between them. And that's all happening directly from the media player itself. It's not using the main production switcher at all to be able to accommodate this. Now, this automatically put fades in between all the clips for me, but you also can use any of the effects in the TriCaster. You can click on any of those, pick whatever effect you want to use, and you're now ready to roll that again with the new effect in place. It's really giving you some pretty major editing capabilities right inside of the media player in the advanced edition of TriCaster. I'm going to go ahead and clear out the media that I currently have in here, and let's load up a new clip to work with. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at this clip. I'll just autoplay to it. Got a guy on a flyboard, and he's zooming around. Looks really cool. What I want to do is I want to use some of my new context menu features here to create a nice little edit out of this. So first of all, I'm going to fly the guy on the board here till he's about to come out of the water. So I'm going to get his head just popping just about right there. He's coming up out of the water. And what I can do now is I can split this clip right where I have the scrubber. So now I have two clips split right where I was on the first clip. This clip is going to play at 100% speed, but now, again, with a right context menu, I can do individual speeds on each clip. So I'll say I want this clip to play at 50% speed. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like. So he dives in at full speed, and when he comes out, he's at slow motion. Looks great. The slow motion quality has also been enhanced in the advanced edition, and now with these new editing capabilities right inside the media players, you have a whole lot more power. These new features in the media players literally turn them into little nonlinear editors, allowing you to edit pieces together inside of the live production environment instead of having to exit out to use a nonlinear editor. Now, let's take a look at some of the new enhanced graphics capabilities. So we're now going to take our little edited sequence here from the media player, and we're going to incorporate that into one of our virtual set effects here, a little double box effect. And let's go ahead and start that playing. Now, what I really want to have is a title down here that describes each one of these clips. Now, if you right-click on any clip inside of a media player, go to Properties, you'll see that there's some information. There's a display name and comment. And this information can be used to drive graphics through DataLink. I'll go ahead and bring up our overlay, and you'll see that it's actually being driven by the name of each clip, and we're using one title template that's being updated in real time by DataLink, again using the name of the clip that's part of the information inside of the clip. Now, there are several different things that you can do with DataLink. Another example would be to bring in something like time and date, And this is all generated from the system clock. Again, it's external data that's coming in and dynamically populating and generating your graphics for you in real time. Now, we do a lot of live streaming around here, and I've always wanted an easy way to let people know when that stream is going to start. Well, now we can do that with DataLink. So let's go ahead and bring up our title template, and this title template is waiting for information from our production clock. Go ahead and start our production clock, and you'll see that it instantly grabs the information from our production clock. It knows when the show is going to start, and it's able to display that information, making all of our viewers aware of when the live webcast is going to begin. But it gets even better because you can also send text and images from an external computer into a TriCaster title template from a Google Chrome web browser. Let's take a look. So as you can see, we have a web page here showing some tweets, and we want to be able to use the information from these tweets during our live production. Well, we have a title template set up to do exactly that. And you can see on the title template that there's an area for the picture, and then the name of the tweeter, and then the body of the tweet itself. Now, we can use the information externally from this web page to update that graphic. I'm simply going to right-click on the image from the tweet and send it to the tweet pic. And you can see that the updated image is now part of our graphic. I can update who the tweeter currently is by sending this to the tweet name. And then again, we can select the body of the message and send that just as easily. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at what this might look like over an actual live video feed. And you can see incorporating your tweets or really any sort of text or imagery from a Chrome browser is now just a mouse click away using the new Advanced Edition. Instant replay, of course, is popular for live sports production. TriCaster Advanced Edition now gives you a very simple way to control an instant replay right in the TriCaster interface. So we have footage coming in on input number 1, and let's go ahead and start recording. And we're going to let the recording go for a while. And as soon as we see something that we like that right there, we can hit this button, and it puts our instant replay down in here in DDR1. To see the instant replay, simply click on this button. You'll get a transition in. Plays it back at whatever speed you have it preset. I selected 50% for a clip length of 5 seconds, and then automatically brings us right back out with a separate transition back to the live video. This is all an automatic process and a click of a button. A simplified streaming panel now lets you stream to multiple destinations from a single TriCaster system. You can easily select your streaming destinations and now stream in up to full 1080p resolution. LinkedIn has been added to the social media destinations, and social media connections can be configured faster now because instead of having to exit out of the live production environment, it can be done while in a live session. Traditionally, loading media for use in your live production in a TriCaster was done in the Sessions page outside of the live environment. But very often, once you start your live production, content may become available that you want to use, and you need to be able to get it into the system. Well, the TriCaster Advanced Edition makes this possible with the media importer built right into the live production area. Simply select Import Media, then you can add any media that you want to bring in. You can start importing that media and close it down, and all of your media is imported in the background, allowing you to continue with your live production. Now, one of my favorite new features in the Advanced Edition is the ability for me to automatically fix my mistakes. What I mean by that is, you may be in the middle of a live production at some point and make a mistake on the switcher and inadvertently push buttons while you're reaching for your cup of coffee, or any number of things can happen. TriCaster Advanced Edition has an undo, allowing me to fix my mistake and continue with my live production. The Advanced Edition of the TriCaster actually makes your TriCaster smarter with features like SDI Auto Detect. And this will automatically detect the resolution of an SDI signal, making it plug and play. And there are even more fully configurable outputs available, giving you more flexibility during your live production. These are just a few of the many features included in the TriCaster Advanced Edition. Rex?
Thank you, Don. Well, Andrew, we just saw some very cool new stuff.
We did indeed.
What are you most excited about in this software package?
Gosh, well, you know, when I look at Don's demo, I mean, impressive stuff. I mean, it's just amazing how many pieces come together to make the, what are a bunch of really major steps forwards in many ways for broadcasters and for our users, and it's just allowing them to do a lot of new stuff that's just really groundbreaking, and hopefully it inspires people to go out and make new shows, do them in different ways. I mean, that's what gets me excited about all of this.
Me too. Bringing DataLink into the TriCaster system even deeper really seems to add a lot of new possibilities for graphics.
Well, that's exactly right. And whenever I go out and I talk to people about DataLink in Advanced Edition, I always have to kind of say, the first thing is you have to forget everything that's kind of come before it, because I really think that DataLink as it is in there today really just it allows for so much new capabilities. For instance, I mean, really it's all about real-time data update. So, but the definition of data can mean almost anything, and that's what makes it so exciting. Typically when people think about data, they're thinking, well, we're pulling stats from the web or something like this. But what we allow you to pull stats from the DDR, for instance. So when a DDR clip comes up, it can actually update a data element inside a page. Or when people go to, say, a particular camera, it can change the data within the page. So you can have things like a lower third that really becomes quite intelligent, because now it can actually change that lower third depending on what it's overlaying on top of. And that, that kind of thing is one of the things that gets you thinking, okay, so I can now not need to have 10 different lower thirds. It can just automatically update my lower thirds depending on how I'm using it. And that kind of ability to use data to pull things from all over the place, whether they are external database sources, which is kind of the traditional use, or these much more integrated kind of data feeds from within the system, really takes what people do and allows them to build systems and kind of workflows that they just couldn't have before.
Absolutely. Now also, I mean, in the keys, that augmented reality feature, that's really kind of a major change.
Oh, it is in many ways. And I think that really when you walk around, at a big trade show and you just kind of take a step back and look at the sets. I mean, I feel very proud. I mean, honestly, our sets look like almost the best that are out there. When you just look at the imagery, it's stunning. I mean, it really is really very, very nice. And but we were thinking, look, so what are the things that people can't do with our system that maybe if you watch, the election coverage on CNN or, any of the high-end virtual set use, what are the things that we should really enable our customers to go and do? And so, it's very clear that the ability to bring kind of 3D elements directly into the scene, make them so that they become part of the scene. So you're not just working within a fixed set, but you're really bringing other video elements into the scene is one of the things that I think that we were missing. And we really see that, this is taking what traditionally would have literally cost millions of dollars to set up. And it's just enabling almost any one of our customers to do this and to create virtual sets that are really indistinguishable from the most advanced systems that are out there. It's something that it's visually amazing to look at. It's great fun to play with. I can't think of a better kind of thing to have. It seems to get all the check boxes right. And on the top of that, it's fun. I mean,
well, it makes even more use of those keyers.
Absolutely.
To really incorporate them right into that virtual set.
Well, that's right. And we've really had, I mean, for years now, we've probably had, the most sophisticated keying and positioning system. I mean, we don't count the number of DVEs. You just have DVEs everywhere. You don't count the number of chroma keys you have access to into the system. You really can just use chroma keys. You can use overlays. You can use DVEs almost any way you want. And so it just leverages that to give you a whole new level of, now we can have elements kind of floating in front of us here, and, we can, pan around the set and zoom in on things. And it's really quite amazing what it enables.
Absolutely. Now, the media players, too, have gotten some significant upgrades with being able to add transitions right into the media players.
That's exactly right. I mean, this, this has obviously been very heavily requested because, now you can obviously build, almost complete playlists in there, and you can just leave them playing. It can transition from one clip to another. But, we've always had one of the most powerful effects system out there. So our transitions aren't just, hey, you can do crossfade between clip A and B, which maybe there's some high-end DDR systems that allow, but we allow you to use any one of our transitions. So it can be a custom-built wipe that, shows your station's logo, or it could be your, it could just pull up your team's name. I mean, anything that we can use within our switcher system can now also be used within our DDR, and that allows you just to get to a whole new level of kind of visual sophistication in what you're doing. Now, actually, even though we allow transitions, there's really, just far more improvements than that just within the DDR. We have, the ability to bring in metadata. We have the ability to change out angles. So if you had ISO, an ISO recorded set of cameras, you can actually right-click and change the angles. You can cut clips, at the current time point, change to another angle, put a transition between them. And so we're really talking about very sophisticated editing capabilities directly built into the DDR and the media playback system within TriCaster.
Along with the replay capabilities as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have the, we've long done replay. I mean, we obviously have 3Play, so we know a thing or two about that. But we've actually made it so that within TriCaster, if you want to go back and just get quick highlights while you're in a show, you can very, very easily do that. I mean, single click button will capture the last 5 seconds that got recording. You can then move the in and out points. We're always recording all angles. So, it doesn't just take the last 5 seconds and that's what you get. You can then perfect your shot. You can change the angle that got recorded if it wasn't the one you wanted. And you can do all of that within the, directly within the media players. And then, we're talking about how all of this stuff kind of comes full circle. You can then use a lot of that to then say publish to the web, publish to Facebook. So even angles of, shots that didn't go to air, you can use that B-roll. And, in this world where people are needing to produce more and more video, it's not just about the program out feed. They're needing to feed stuff to Facebook. They're needing to push it to, to their website. They're needing to want to transcode it so it can get reused by their editors, somewhere else. And it just brings all of this full circle. So these clips that you're capturing, using in your show, you can take other angles of them. You can push them to other locations, push them to the web. It's just amazing what it allows.
Absolutely. I mean, it in a sense turns those media players into kind of internal editing system that's built right into the TriCaster.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, really, you're talking about sophisticating editing capabilities that go one step further because they also tie in with all the live components of the system too. The fact that you can attach macros to clips so that when a particular clip comes up, it might pull up an overlay that goes along with that clip, or might pull up a particular camera and put it as as an overlay on top of it. Those are the things. So even though we have very sophisticated editing capabilities, it also is very well tied into the rest of the system and into the live production part of it. So it's kind of a non-linear editor with a lot of live production capabilities built on top of that, which is really quite staggering.
Now, another pretty major development in this TriCaster Advanced Edition is the IP control, or the browser-based control capabilities. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is something that I think that, it's obviously big right now, but this is going to fuel a whole new generation of uses of our systems. So what we have done is we've really made it so that web-based technologies can drive anything within the TriCaster. This means you can design custom web pages that control, any part of a show. Now, we've got actually a couple of examples within the TriCaster itself, and, kind of a little hint here. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming on this, but I'm not going to say any more right now. But this does allow people to build their, if they've got a show where they have specific needs, where they want people to be able to just click on a button and it does a certain set of actions, or they want to, use it to pull up a, remote call via a talk show or a 3Play system, or, any of the other sophisticated production tools that we have, it allows you to really build a custom workflow that can run within a browser. And since it can run within a browser, it can work on touch systems, it can work on huge touch screens, it can work on anything. I mean, anything that's out there. Now, even take a step back further than that. Obviously, that's the web-based stuff, but web-based technologies in this day and age are accessible from anywhere. So, any scripting language can talk to web-based APIs. So what this does is it just means that almost anybody who wants to custom control TriCaster systems in almost any way, it just becomes really, really easy. And that is amazing. I just can't wait to see that. I actually, before I came here to do this interview, I just got emailed by a customer who's actually used these web-based, web-based technologies that we're adding to it to control his TriCaster that actually is back in the UK from 7,000 miles away in the US. So this guy, in just a few days since he's had Advanced Edition, he's managed to put together this show where he's now, he's actually sitting at home controlling his show that's occurring somewhere else. I mean, and that's just what one guy did. And he's emailing me excited about this because it is remarkably cool. This would have been an expensive system to set up just a few years ago, and he's just done it with, it's smart guy. He put this all together. But, when you think about this and you think about what everybody else is going to be able to do and some of the great ideas and the, kind of an innovation that this is going to allow, I just can't wait to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, it seems like it's really going to open the door to some new applications for the way TriCaster is used and being used.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, it's going to be very exciting because, you know, the TriCaster, it kind of goes from being just a system that you sit and touch yourself to one where you're kind of building into a much larger environment and building something much larger around. And that's exciting. I mean, it becomes almost a tool. And even though it, you know, obviously it does amazing stuff and it can trigger all sorts of devices, it can integrate with all sorts of third-party applications, it can also itself be now controlled by websites. It can be controlled by, you know, all sorts of sophisticated environments. And, you know, this is just going to change the way video is done. I mean, it's, you know, we're going to be surprised. I'm sure that, you know, you know, us, even, you know, we built this system, we know what it does. You know, one of the coolest things is we see these things customers are doing and it just blows us away. I mean, that's the most exciting part about all of this at the end of the day, is to see how customers are using this. They're going out, they're changing the world of video, they're becoming broadcasters, they're doing things that, you know, just a few years ago, I mean, you could hardly do video on a desktop. This it's just amazing. Yeah. Just amazing.
Well, finally, Andrew, tell us, what do you see in the future of not only TriCaster, but also NewTek in general?
Well, that's a good question, and I'm always very careful to answer that. You know, we're always pushing the envelope, but, you know, our mission is still the same. I mean, really, you know, in the last 10 years since we've had TriCaster, we have always looked to give, I mean, our mission statement is literally, we seek to give people a voice through video. That's what we want to do. We want to take anybody who has a story, who has a show, who has an idea, and give them the tools affordably to make something that could, you know, looks like it costs millions of dollars to create. That is what we're going to do, and it doesn't matter what the set of, you know, we're going to go after all the technologies that make that easier, make that cheaper, make that quicker for people. And that's really what our core goal is. That's what's driven us all these years, and that's not about to change.
Absolutely. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us
pleasure.
today. And thank Don Balance for his demonstration. And if you'd like more information on TriCaster Advanced Edition, please visit the NewTek website for that. On behalf of Andrew Cross, Don Balance, myself, and everyone here at NewTek, thank you for joining us.